There's so many of us here in this community who are neurodivergent. Even those of us who don't look it are neurodivergent. Let's get real. You all know I am. What are some tips as an editor, coach, and business owner that I think are really important for my fellow writers and authors to remember if you are neurodivergent? Let's check it out and jam. Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Sitting Down While Standing Up with Soul Writer. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer, author of sci-fi fantasy with dashes of romance and nerdy references. Alongside the raw healing stories my characters weave throughout time and space, I help other soul bards such as yourselves rock it out in your pace, in your time, in your stride. Heads up, if you've been wanting to join Soul Bard Academy, soulbard.exe, one of our pilot head mothership courses is coming soon. In the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about those things that I really do think are important for those of us in this community whom are neurodivergent to just kind of tick through one at a time. Not necessarily in this order, but hey, any order works. Though probably most of you are going to have to start at number 1 if you have not so far. Accepting the fact that you're neurodivergent. It is okay that you march to your own drummer. Let's get real. Most of us do. Even those of us who can most of the time tell time signatures usually accept that we have a little drummer, or in my case a baddie coda, who lives in our head and controls things. Don't wrong channel me. Don't wrong channel. Occasionally I'll sing for you when we do live stream sprints. Not here. Anywho. But it also owns up to the fact that acknowledging we are far more creative. We tend to have our introverted sides. We tend to have our moments of how we like to be extroverted seemingly. And also the fact that there's really times where I've been glad about my neurodivergence that I probably didn't celebrate it as largely and as hard as I should have. I have panic disorder, anxiety disorder, and CPTSD, so I agree with Truvy from Steel Magnolias. No one's allowed to cry alone in my presence. I cry over Mufasa every time I watch The Lion King still. I know Nausicaa wakes up and walks through the golden field of shinies and brings in a new era for her people with Studio Ghibli. I don't care, I still bawl. I still bawl. So, tips to harness that. Know your triggers. As my coaches over in Full-Time Purpose are often reminding us, let them be the guides. If it's upsetting you, maybe that's a hint that either A, it's something you need to work through with or without professional help as needed and appropriate, or maybe you just need a break to recalibrate. Are you hangry? You see where literally there's about 5 options that could apply to a lot of reasons why we get triggered over things. At the same time, reverse engineer that for glimmers. What makes you happy? So that way you know how to repeat performance it when you need a glimmer to kick you out of a trigger or out of a series of depression or whatever. Also, sorry, there's a kitty cat running around here. I don't want her jumping up on my altar. Also, number 2, establish, therefore, a healthy writing routine that you can celebrate all summer long. I got a ton of writing done in June. I've hardly done any in the second half of July. Between July and the first half of July and all of June, I wrote over 80,000 words. I'm exhausted now. My writing routine needed a change up to avoid burnout, let's get real. Also, you really need to play into what makes you feel cozy. Some of my friends literally make writing nests that are like pillow and blanket forts that I totally admire. Looking at you, Sako. Like, literally, I'm looking around here going, can I get one of those big beds that are basically dog beds for humans the cats would love it so much. Let's just get real. And can I sit that in a corner somewhere and make that a comfortable writing nest, or find a chair that isn't at my desk that I can write at? I've always wanted a kotatsu in my house. Is it a hint that maybe I should ask the universe to allow me to have the stability to get a kotatsu? Got to get a washer dryer first. But you see what I mean here. What can you change that is within your power to make all your routines writing for you? Outside of writing, work for you is what I meant there. Anyway, I just did a couple of vlogs on this, so they're open for the public. Go check them both. There's an updated checklist of things you can do to help yourself with your morning and your evening routine to keep on track in those videos. And also, I'm just going to say it. What are you doing to get your body up and moving? What are you doing to keep track of what your body's been keeping score of, in the ways of how do you allow your body the permission to offload the stress it's holding? I'm not just talking about emotionally. I'm literally talking about us being hunched over and the physical stress we're putting on our backs. Therefore, do you need therapy once in a while? Not just mentally. I know I had to go through therapy for my carpal tunnel a couple years ago, is why I'm saying this. I write so much better when I remember to do my exercises to keep myself limber. I do so much better when I remember to do some cold therapy on my wrists and put braces on them a couple times a week. What are you doing to stretch out your back? What are you doing to make sure you're getting deep breaths? Because if you're leaning hunched over, you're not getting deep breaths and you're not using your lungs enough, trust me. Do you have chores around the house that need taken care of? Okay. All of this can come back into people whom are neurodivergent don't always deal with things the same way. Case in point. Sorry, lamp. I tend to be not a neat freak, but everything should have its place and it should go in its place. And as my mother often yelled at all 5 of us, because she raised 4 boys before she had me, oops baby, number 5, don't put it down, put it away. Don't put it down, put it where you got it from. Don't set it down there, put it back. My mother said that so much. And my adult brothers, 22 years my senior for George, the eldest, were still being told that well into his 40s and 50s before he was unalived. So it only stuck with me, apparently. So I can attest that people like my brother George do exist. Because he was that person who would literally, leave leftovers out for 2 days because he forgot that he took them out and warmed them up on the back burner of the stove. Yes, there was one time where he forgot to turn it off on the back burner. Dad was not happy. Yes, George had to clean up the mess. Number 3, navigating the self-publishing process. It is not going to go exactly the same way for everybody. As my writing, book publishing coach and mentor and captain to the stars for Heart Breathings, Sarah Cannon says, it's like a buffet. Now, y'all been to a bunch of buffets. Follow me here. You know what section you like to go to first. The same is going to be true here. If you're a short video form person, you're probably going to go to TikTok and do Reels and YouTube Shorts. Your reader probably likes that content too. Just saying. My reader is someone who does not mind sitting down and watching all 12 plus hours of all 3 Lord of the Rings movies back to back with the special extended editions and some breaks in between here and there. Don't act like that isn't a fun snow day. Alongside speed running Super Mario Bros. 3 on the old Nintendo on a different TV. Anywho, you really need to look at what part of the publishing process works for you. Some people whom I work with as an editor and a book and business coach whom are neurodivergent said, I come to you because you get my brain, you're also neurodivergent. So maybe you might want to ask if your editors are neurodivergent. Not make it a requirement, but if you know you yourself are, it might not hurt to ask that, or add on, do you have experience working with authors and creative people whom are? I literally am certified and have a master's degree in working with kids. Also, not just as an English teacher, ESL teacher, reading teacher, but I'm dual certified in special education. I've taken so many classes on neurodivergent stuff and understood my own brain a lot more along the way. Let's just put it that way. I know what works for my brain and why. I've gone through the practice tests on myself for diagnosing stuff as a trauma-informed educator. They can give us labels all they want. I'm basically part-time counselor to some school districts for that reason, right? So I definitely understand that there are going to be some parts of any process for people whom are neurodivergent that we love it and we hate it. I love drafting. I love editing. I love brainstorming. I don't mind doing the nerdy techie stuff for like uploading it into the back end or formatting it on my own because #LadyNerd I am. On the other hand, let's get real. I am much better at marketing my services than I am my books. And that kind of came to bite me in the butt this summer with the Kickstarter, not gonna lie. I've learned a lesson. And for some of us who are neurodivergent, we lean into too heavily, I think, of what, especially those of us who are former K-12 education teachers, we lean into what is called overplan, overdeliver. I was told for years as someone who wrote lesson plans, you need to always make sure that you account for your kids who are going to move slower and your kids who are going to, bam, and they're done in 15 minutes and now you got to babysit them and make sure they stay behaved for 30 minutes. Not my fault that the guidance office does not know how to properly make a kid's schedule, for one. Or two, schedule conflicts means that kid can't get in the proper class they need, i.e. they should have been in my advanced or my honors class, but because that's the same time as their advanced or honors math class, which makes no sense, they cannot also be dual enrolled in my English class. So they got to take a lower level class where they're going to goof off because they're bored. Stop doing that, high schools. Anywho, one of the many reasons why I left K-12. You have this benefit here where you can hire people. You know what parts of the process, what parts of the buffet you're going to like, okay? I'm a salad person. That's going to be the brainstorming for me. But honestly, I'm going to leave the carbs, aka the marketing, over there. I love me some carbs. I should know when to have them a little bit better, is why I'm making that comparison as someone who shouldn't have carbs. I should have the marketing, and I should know when to use it a little bit better as part of my buffet to better benefit what's on my plate. Divide that plate up. Most humans can only handle 3 to 5 tasks a day. We're going to talk about more of that here in a moment. Number 4, authentic marketing. Oh my goodness, and building your community. I mentioned earlier, and I keep mentioning your client avatar, your reader avatar. Literally, go make a Facebook profile for them in like Canva or something. Or a Dungeons & Dragons TT RPG style gamer sheet. What do they look like? What do they sound like? What do they read? What do they watch? What kind of music do they enjoy? You probably will see that a lot of your aesthetics, a lot of your inspos, a lot of your Pinterest boards, a lot of what you play in your own ear while writing is the same thing up their alleys. Why not make that somebody and slap a name on it instead of a label? I have a client avatar. Her name is Cleo. She's a former student of mine, and she and I have a lot in common, kind of like younger self, and she very much has a love of writing, but sometimes life is mean to her, And then I have this whole list of things Cleo has dealt with. I also have a whole list of things Cleo likes, dislikes, what past business situations might look like, and how I handled it. Yes, I update that as they come up in client meetings of how I solved stuff if I need notes for future Me Too in case it comes up again. You can do the same thing for your reader. It's probably a little bit more easy for one or the other. For me, my service avatar came to me like that, but since I realized with the Myrna Annals that I'm looking at my plot board of of awesome over there. Notice that reframe. I didn't step into a pond of 3 books. I apparently deep dived backwards anime style into an ocean. So my publishing process has gotten quite refined over the last 2 years as I realized that, and therefore also my reader avatar has grown and changed. And every time you add a platform, that avatar changes, so you should really deep dive into a platform before adding another. 3 to 5 tasks a day with the human brain, okay? Make your marketing in those couple of things you do very authentic. My newsletter readers love it when I talk about the cats. No clue why. However, Facebook, not so much. Instagram is hit or miss. YouTube, we have a channel mascot, and her name is Molly Moo, and she's kind of asleep, so we'll let her sleep. Number 5, self-compassion and resilience are what's going to get you to go very far. I would even say that a better word, if not necessarily better, but another fair choice of a word here is perseverance. My first tattoo I ever got is an Ankh in shade. That's the Egyptian representation of life as a symbol. Kind of looks like a cross, even though I think the Ankh symbol might be older. And I've always been a huge fan since I was young of Egyptian mythology, and I've always wanted to know more about the goddess Nephthys, because you know a lot about her sister Isis and her brothers Osiris and Set/Seth, but she's kind of the wallflower sibling, and maybe not willingly so. She got absorbed into a lot of other goddesses and other religions. Artemis, Mary, etc. At the same time, in the middle of that Ankh's eye, I have the kanji for perseverance. I said as my first tattoo, I want to remind myself to always do something my dad often said to us 5 kids. Persevere through life. The show must go on. Or it's going to go on and without you. And all of us watched, at least all of us 90s kids and older, grew up watching America's Funniest Home Videos, and you know what some of those crying in the middle of the stage because XYZ happened videos can look like. If you were the subject of such video, I'm giving you a big hug. I'm so sorry. I hope your parents... Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So just persevere. Again, it goes through you. It doesn't happen to you. It happens for you and through you. You're presented with challenges, i.e. Link is going to town to save the Princess Zelda and suddenly an enemy spawned. You gotta face the enemy spawn. Even in games like Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, you're so guilty of this. Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy have this concept of level grinding. Sometimes enemies randomly spawn on you all of a sudden because the gaming algorithm realized you were not quite to the level you needed to be for the upcoming areas nearby. Let's give you a slight dose harder so that way you are leveled up if you get there in time. At least that's how some of them might have worked, right? Level adaptations and so on. So sometimes the universe, life, God, whatever you want to label it, as Matt Schaefer says, the purple monkey dishwasher, to be, generally fair there, shows up and presents you a challenge. It's kind of like a pop quiz, and as a teacher, I hated giving pop quizzes for a reason. I don't like being given them, even by life, but we gotta accept them. So go through them, persevere through them, take your breath, rely on your routines. This is all the more reason why routines are important, and if they're not working for you, you need to change them, because if they're not catching you, if they're not being a good little net, you gotta somehow fix the net or buy a new one. My dad took me fishing a lot. So yeah, enjoy that metaphor. 6, rely on visual aids and marketing, or making yourself marketing or so on standards of operation or troubleshooting Gs. In Soul Bard Academy, I call them troubleshooting Gs. 1, troubleshooting guides is the actual definition, but 2, if they don't feel like they're your friend, your homie G, I'm a 90s kid, get over it. Then you're probably not going to hang out with them very often. You might not even open the file. So you might as well update it or get what you do need involved. Standards of operating procedures are normally what a lot of people whom work in hospitals with like scrum boards are used to, or even so in like a lawyer's office, us teachers are used to them. It's called standards for education. And they're trying to control how we or you guys outline your lesson plans, whatever. On top of that, the military, your computer company, your tech guys and gals, they all have standards of operating procedures to make sure that they're giving you the best service. So why wouldn't you try to do that for your own people that you give services to, alongside, hello Molly Mill, your readers? Do you move it from an early access subscription platform to a crowdfunding platform, and then to Amazon, and then to Wide? Or does it just go straight to Amazon? Does it go straight to Wide? There's no right answer. Pick your map, go traveling, see what happens, correct along the way, especially if detours are given to you. Visual aids help in that big time. I often say I feel like I have a detective board of what I need to do for which book hanging on the wall that way across the room. And some of you prefer that digital. I gotta have the wall because teacher. You're not going to take my whiteboards away from me, okay? Just like you're not going to take my vast amount of storage space and tables and pens and paper. Just saying. 7, the human limit is real. What is the human limit? In video game speedrunning, the human limit is calculated to be the fastest time that any set conditions on a video game play scenario can be completed. That equals the human limit. For example, there's been this huge battle in the last couple of years to go ahead and whittle down the time of who can beat Super Mario Brothers, the original, the fastest. The human limit is literally being reached. It's like down to 4 minutes and change, and they're shaving off microseconds to beat world records on this thing because it's so tight. You're looking at random chance and knowing the game mechanics really being what works in your favor until they figure out another way to unlock to make it faster. Because we all know what you can do in Super Mario Brothers 64, where you can backwards glitch into the upper levels without even completing half of the stars. Just saying. So, what is your human limit? 3 to 5 tasks a day comfortably is what we can complete. If you film a video, edit that video, do the metadata and upload that video, that might be 3 things for one people. That might be 1 thing for one person. Does a task take you a full task block? Hello, Mel. Or a couple of task blocks? Are you accounting for interrupciones? Ha, channel mascot. Also, you get into 6 and 7 tasks on your list that are big and chunky a day, you're looking at stress. You're looking at cortisol levels going up, unfortunately, and we don't want you stressing out no more than you need to. So, know your limits. It's okay that there's boundaries on the sandbox. You're meant to have fun in those boundaries. That's okay. That can be the only rule, is to take care of yourself, because let's get real, you've been worth it from the beginning. See you around.